Welcome to the Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Hany Rambod. I'm here with my co-host, Austin, and we have Derek Lunsford back in the studio. Derek?
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Seen you a couple weeks ago.
I know. Well, about a week and a half ago, to be exact.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great weekend.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about Pittsburgh today. We're going to talk about little updates from Derek. You have been very busy, my friend.
Dude, nonstop.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere every week.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 places a week. Every week.
So let's talk about where you've been. You were up in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. You were up in, I think, was it Michigan or Minnesota?
If we go back to their Arnold Classic in March, I was there. Then I was in Georgia. Then I was in Germany. Mm-hmm. And then St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Michigan.
Well, I know that when we spoke you were in St. Louis, and I had just got back from Italy. Yeah, and you were up there. We FaceTimed. You were at the S2 event. Mm-hmm. So at the S2 event in St. Louis, and they had a new supplement superstore there, right? That sells Evogen, and you were doing an appearance. They have a 5,000 square foot facility. I saw it on FaceTime. It looks amazing.
Super cool.
Yeah, very nice.
Very clean, modern, up to date. Great products. Awesome. Got a little smoothie while I was there.
Yeah, a little smoothie, a little fruity smoothie.
That's right. No, it was a great turnout, man. Huge event.
It was a big barbecue, right?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. Yeah, which, by the way, I will be there. For those of you that are listening in the St. Louis area, I will be there July 22nd. Back up in, I don't know exactly which store I'll be at. I don't know if I'm going to be at the exact same store, but I am going to be up there for S2. So if you're in the St. Louis area and you're going to be around in the middle of summer, I'm sure it's not going to be hot. It's not going to be humid. I'm just being sarcastic, but it's going to be fun. So we're trying to get together with my buddy Andy Frisella up there, jump on and do another podcast with him, and then also go out to his stores, which are the supplement superstores. And so if you're interested in trying out samples of Evogen, I'm going to be there for Evogen at the booth. I don't know. Are you going to be? You're not going to be there, right? You're not planning on being there.
No, I'm trying to wind it down a little bit. I'm going to be going out to.
No, but you were. What were you? Oh, that's right. You were doing an appearance, and then you ended up being.
Well, I was at the at the NPC Midwest Championships.
Jack Chatone.
Mm-hmm,
that's right.
Yep. Which was a huge turnout too. By the way,
was it?
Shout out to them. Yeah, huge.
They must have not known you were there.
No, I think they thought somebody else was coming.
At what stage do you guys start to kind of wind down things as far as just like for progress sake or prep wise?
Usually like about 10 or 12 weeks out, we try to shut it down. And so we're far enough out. We got plenty of time. But I think what he's alluding to is the fact that he's been so busy that when you're out constantly, even if it's off season, it's hard to be able to get all the meals in because you're traveling, to get all the rest in because you're traveling, to get all of the really good, the really good high level workouts in because you're using gyms that are probably you're not accustomed to.
In the time when progress is usually made. In off season.
Yeah. Things are good right now. Like training's good. I've made improvements, solid improvements since the Olympia, but I really want to get into my own routine at home, my own gym, and be able to just really crank up the training, over these next couple months. For sure.
So that's what he's been talking a lot about. And I think we had a conversation a couple of days ago about anxiety. Right. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about how to try to control that because you're always looking to be better. And I felt like this was a topic that I did want to touch on because so many people have anxiety. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, not just bodybuilders that maybe take stimulants or it's a hormonal thing, but it's just in general in today's society. And I think a lot of that has to do with, social media. Mm-hmm. I think that social media brings a lot of that. I mean, being that you're the social media person out here on this table, I mean, what do you think about that?
You have to learn to disconnect from it if you're reviewing it as a business. There's the thing is like yes, it's causing a lot of problems mental health wise from just comparing yourself to everybody. That's kind of more what the average person is dealing with, is just the constant comparison of like, oh, I don't look like this person. I don't have the car this person has, anything, and they don't understand what reality is, and you're only seeing somebody's highlight reel. So yeah, when you're just looking at that, it's going to cause a lot of I would say, anxiety, but also just like depression from just like not being where you want to be. I feel like the anxiety kind of comes into play when you are in that category of being an influencer or in that kind of genre of where a lot of people are looking up to you to constantly be on your A game, constantly put out creative content, be very, very, very consistent. And then you don't really feel like you can have kind of downtime to just kind of have a normal life. Like there's definitely, you know, some people look at it like, oh, if you're an influencer, it's an easy job or anything like that. I kind of see both sides of it. There's difficulties in every category. But when you are in that, there is a kind of certain 24/7 on kind of that you need to have in a way. And I think that can be one of the things that causes a lot of anxiety. Is just, it's always in the back of your head of like, do I need to be documenting this thing I'm doing? What content do I need to put out tomorrow? Unless you kind of shift into a way of being able to look at it as a business and structuring out your days, planning your content, having it more like disconnected from you, if that makes sense. Like the social media as an outside entity that you're just managing and not viewing it as like your personal page where people are judging you.
I think, you know, even if you can disconnect, because anxiety can come from different places, right? And I think even if you can disconnect from the comments or comparing yourself to somebody else in your position or whatever, I think myself, for example, when we were talking the other day on the phone, my anxiety sometimes has come from me feeling like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
Whether that's I'm not training enough, I'm not putting up enough numbers in the gym, or I'm not posting enough, or I'm not going here, there, and everywhere enough, or I'm not, you know, making enough calls, or just whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. That good isn't good enough kind of mentality, it can drive you far in life, but also if it's really affecting you mentally, it can also hold you back at times too. So we were talking on the phone the other day about finding balance in all of this, working hard and pushing forward, but also being able to just have some sort of calmness and patience along the way.
Yeah. And that comes from content, right? You have to also be somewhat content with what you've done. And if you're able to do that, then it'll also, the flames of that intensity that kind of make your skin and kind of crawl and your blood broil when you go, well, I gotta go do this. I gotta do this. And there's different ways of looking at it. As an athlete, you're looking at it saying, okay, am I doing enough for business because I'm going to start prep soon? And am I going to be able to get everything that I need to in before the prep starts? Because that window, when that window closes, it's similar for me too. When that window of off season closes for me, that means now I have to lean into more of my prep with my athletes, because you're going to be getting dialed in. You got Chris getting dialed in. You have Hany now, you know, also behind the scenes getting everything refinished with his visa and everything else. And all of those things have different levels of anxiety for everyone. Especially with me, I've been able to manage it to some degree. I think pretty well, and now more than ever, I've been able to handle those things because I compartmentalize them into what is the priority right now. Because if you try to prioritize everything as an A, you're going to end up, you're going to have a lot of missteps. But if you turn around and say, okay, well, right now, due to times, it's almost like taxes, right? If you are able to kind of get ahead of it, your receipts, and you're trying to get all those things put together ahead of time, you're going to be able to put a little bit of time in all the way up into that April 15th date, instead of trying to do it the night before, and then you're trying to put everything together, and then you're going to really freak out, and then it won't be really done right. And then you're also going to be just, you know, upside down. But if you're able to put time towards something and be able to say, well, what am I doing here? I'm trying to work on these different projects. Your sense of anxiety came from, okay, I'm doing so many appearances. Am I not doing enough work in the gym?
Right.
And I had to come back and say, no, you are. Now, could you do a little bit more? Yes. And that's when we're going to start after Pittsburgh, because I'm going to see you. We're going to get some good training sessions in. You got some good training sessions with me and Chris and the whole lot over there.
Yep.
Got to see Seth. That was awesome.
Yep.
But what it does is it motivates you because you saw the other competitors as well. So it kind of reignites.
Absolutely.
So, but what needs to happen is then you've got to put the game plan together and say, okay, well, if I can tighten up my diet, be able to get the meals in, because maybe I'm averaging 4 to 5 solid meals, but I need to go to 5 solid plus a shake so that I can turn around and do that. Or if I'm getting 6 hours of sleep, I need to push it to 7 to 8. I need to make sure I'm hydrating with at least 4 to 6 liters of water a day. All of these little things all add up. So when you're doing all of these things, you have to prioritize them. And if you know that you've made some huge, in your case, huge strides in the last 2 years with the business sense of this, then You don't have to go, well, have I been lazy for the last couple of months because I've been focusing so much on just appearances instead of appearances plus some of these other personal businesses that you were working on.
Right.
Right. So as we go in and we say those personal businesses are good because those plans you're putting together, they're going into effect, but they're not going to go into effect in 3 months. But it could be something that you're working on now that after the next Olympia, then you can start working on making sure that you're setting the stage now to be able to really drive them home right after the show. Or hey, if it's clothing related, let's say you're doing clothing drops, but the window for clothing and the eyeballs on your personal clothing brand is during the Olympia. Well, then you have a smaller window that needs to be done. All those things need to be dialed in for your merch getting ready for the Olympia, because during the Olympia prep, that's when it's important, not after the Olympia prep. So that's how you got to prioritize things and say, okay, what's really, really important? Or if you still keep getting calls all the time on doing appearances in different cities.
Yep.
And that's now where you were very open to it in the beginning of the year. Now you got to turn around and start shutting that down and saying, okay, that's a good bit of money that they're going to offer me, but I got to stay home because at the end of the day, we love that saying, at the end of the day, you need to look good on stage. Yeah. So I got to stay home and I got to balance that out.
Yeah, but we all want it all, and we all want it now, don't we?
Exactly. You do.
How do you balance the family dynamic of that? The
that was actually something I was about to bring that up too. We're talking about bodybuilding and the business and getting here and going there, and then the one aspect that we're not even talking about is your own personal life, your own home life.
Because I know that I
have a wife at home.
Yeah, because I know that we were talking right after the Olympia. I think it was like the next morning you were doing cardio. We were just talking, and you were talking about how Jelson was like a saint, like buckled down, pushed through all that stuff with you, everything. And but when you're going through all that in prep, and then you have a little break, and then you're straight into a bunch of appearances, all that kind of stuff. Do you have a downtime where it's like, we're going to go on a trip, or do you have like specific, like how do you manage that? Because that's
next week we're going on a little cruise.
Hey, there you go. Awesome. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. Hany called me what was it, like 2 months ago? And you're like, hey, how's things going? I go, everything's really good, and he could tell I was worked up about what we just talked about, all the business stuff and the bodybuilding. Yeah. And he goes, how's life at home? And I was like, well, to be honest, like it's kind of, if I'm 100% honest, kind of put that on the back burner a little bit. He goes, hey man, you got to get your crap together. Yep. And I was like, what? He said, dude, take your wife on a vacation. I said, out of anybody in this world, he should be the one that's telling me, no, go here, do more, blah, blah. And he's like, no, you need to have balance. And I'm like, man, you're so right. And so we booked a cruise for next week. We never done a cruise ever. And so we're really excited about that. It's like a 4 or 5 day cruise.
Disney cruise. He's going to hang out with us.
Exactly.
No, not a Disney cruise. But which that does sound pretty cool though. I don't know. I'd be down for that.
I've been to a Disney cruise.
Did you? Was it cool?
It was good. I mean, Cameron liked it.
Children,
but you have a lot of you got a lot of kids everywhere.
Gotcha.
So if you have a child, great. But would I go on one? Yeah. No.
By yourself.
Like,
just Hany shows up.
That's concerning.
That's very concerning.
He's going to get you put on some list. Yeah.
I would definitely recommend it for those that have kids that are especially if you're after like 5-6 years old, right in that time. A little bit, if they're a little too young, it might be a little too soon. But the pool on those
no, I got to stay away from the pools.
No water parks, no pools, no slides. Derek, come on.
You in those water parks.
Sunscreen also. Sunscreen.
No, I'll be waking up, hitting the gym, and hitting the buffet.
And they usually actually have, depending on which ship it is, they usually actually have some really good gyms. Yeah, they have some really good gyms, and then they have we call it the floating buffet because you have so much food. It's so much. I used to go on these cruises a lot.
I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my steps in by going from one buffet to the next.
Exactly.
And then I'll go back to my room and then wake up the next day.
Do you guys discuss anything about that for vacations? Do you have any advice you give athletes if they are going on a vacation? Do you have anything you tell them depending on what time of the year it is?
Yeah, just don't try to commit sodium suicide.
Yeah.
Try to be careful on that, because when you're out there, you get dehydrated being in the sun, whether you're doing excursions, whether you're at the beach, whether you're at the pool, then you're not drinking enough water. Then what happens is you're having tons of sodium because there's a lot of food and it's just very sodium based. So you got to be really, really careful with that. And when I used to go with Ronnie, he would always have a structured he'd have a steak and potato, and he would just always have, during the sit down dinners, he would always just say, hey, make me a steak and potato, like it was Outback, and so. And then we'd go back to the midnight buffet, and then he would get something, and then sometimes he would get a little extra, like some kind of dessert sometimes, but not very often. But he was just always just into eating a little bit more of the clean food, because he wasn't a big cheater. He didn't like sit there and eat pizza or do anything like that. He wouldn't eat garbage.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Just eating some clean food, feeling good, relaxing, still getting some workouts in, and just spending time with my wife.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, we really need this time. And, everything is great at home. It's just, I think we need some specific time where we're not at home. We're not on a trip for bodybuilding or business.
Well, some bad stuff happened because of the timing. That's how that conversation went.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was birthday parties, right? That didn't happen, or I guess
it was it was her 30th birthday party, which was in St. Louis.
Right.
And then in Pittsburgh at the Pittsburgh Pro was my 30th birthday.
That's right.
And so we missed both weekends.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was telling him, what are you doing?
I was like, she said it was okay.
I'm like, no.
And he's like,
no.
Don't.
That does not mean it's okay.
Hide the knives. Hide the knives.
That's like I'm ordering food. Do you want anything? No, I'm okay. That doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
You order extra food.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, it's showing my true colors out there.
Oh, geez. All right, well, cruise will be nice.
Yeah,
no,
so
I'm really excited.
The cruise is going to be really nice. You're going to be able to take a cruise. You were Caribbean, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's Bahamas, Caribbean, something like that. Honestly, I don't care.
The Bahamas are in the Caribbean, by the way.
Okay, well,
going somewhere with water. That's all he knows.
I'm probably not even. I'm not even gonna get off the boat.
Yeah,
probably. I'm just there to spend time with her. That's it. I don't care. That's it.
Get off the boat.
Get off the boat.
Yeah, when you go to a port, get off the boat, walk around, do a little.
So this is what we talk about. You asked what we talk about. This is what we talk about.
Yeah.
Go have fun.
Go have fun. Find an excursion. Go hang out.
Because you'll be better in mindset for a prep or whatever you're focusing on if you have that solid foundation and you guys have some time to reconnect and kind of, because obviously during a prep, it's tough being a spouse during a prep too.
Definitely.
A lot of stuff that you have to kind of go through, and
I think she deserves the medal of the award.
I agree with that. Jelson's an angel.
Yeah,
she does a great job. She does a great job. I think that the other thing that we want to go about talking about is let's continue this conversation about this whole dynamic with anxiety, because I feel that not just the athletes, but people in general, right? Like the whole premise of anxiety is when somebody gets worked up, and it could be relationships, it could be coworkers, it could be any of those types of things. It could be looking at social media that basically enables you to think to a point where you create anxiety because you may not think that you're not where you're supposed to be. And that doesn't mean even an athlete. This is one of the reasons why we say stay off social media during prep,
right? Because
someone's going to go out and put some magic pictures on there, and you're gonna be like, okay, am I too lean? I need to stay bigger. I'm not big enough, or I'm not lean enough, or this and that, because you see somebody post something, a progress picture up, and you're 5 weeks out, and you're just like, because you're going to get in your own head. Mm-hmm. That happens a lot when it comes to competitors. So number one, if you're a competitor, don't do that. If you're doing the USAs or you're doing the nationals, if you're a guy, you're a girl, anything that, and you follow other people within your class, don't look at that, because that doesn't mean that they're going to go there and win because they might look good in one photo or one reel. So stop that, because you're going to end up creating so much anxiety for yourself that you're going to end up creating a detriment to your own program. So you might create a misstep when you were going down the right road. Mm-hmm. So I know Seabohm talked about it when he was on, that he turns off his phone. He basically blocks out a ton of different things that he just normally wouldn't do. When he goes on YouTube, he watches a lot of car stuff and a lot of other things that he's interested in outside of bodybuilding. I recommend that highly. What do you do?
Actually, I do the same thing. I like to watch other stuff that's not just bodybuilding related. I like to know what's going on in the bodybuilding scene, stuff like that. That's cool too. It's motivating. But yeah, I would agree with you, not looking at your competitors and things like that and just always thinking about them. That's very important. If you are going to be on social media, like Instagram or YouTube, whatever, it's great to post your own stuff, but that's kind of part of staying in your own lane, is just stay on your own page. Comment back to the people that are commenting to you if you want. But I know we've talked about it over the last 2 preps is monitoring your watch time, or whatever your phone time, how much time you spend on your phone. Yeah. Your iPhones actually will
Tell you every week.
Yeah, and there's times where I'm like, oh no, it's like not getting out of hand. He goes, well, we'll see how much time are you spending? He's like 9 hours. You're on your phone. I'm like, oh shoot.
Yeah, mine's like 16 hours.
I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, but you get paid for it, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit different.
It's a little different, exactly. But yeah, so I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, back that off for real. Like, and I think it actually does something physically too to you when you got your phone in your face like this all the time.
It does.
So that blue light and stuff, I honestly feel physically worse the more I'm on my phone, even in the off season, but especially during prep. But yeah, going back to what you said, like what Chris does, C-Bum, he watches other like car stuff. I like to watch other shows too, but
What do you watch besides bodybuilding stuff that you're on there?
To be honest, it's like different every year. This past year, I was watching Anthony Bourdain. You remember him?
Yeah.
The different series of him. I just, for some reason, when I feel like
food.
No, I feel sheltered at home sometimes.
Yeah.
So like when I'm in my prep, because it's just like, okay, I wake up, I do my cardio, I'm at home, I eat a few meals, catch up on some work, go to the gym and train, come home, do my other cardio and pose. And that's it. Yeah. I'm at home, I'm at the gym. I'm at home, I'm at the gym. That's all I do. So I'm like, man, I want to like go somewhere. I want to be out there. And so I'm like living vicariously through these travel guys, you know, like I really like Anthony Bourdain. I think he was amazing. And so I love his show and like, I really like to watch that one. So I get to go to like the Philippines where my wife is from, or I get to go to like this other country and like experience it through him and his, time there. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
So where do you want to go to?
I'd love to just see all the world, man.
No, but what's your top 3 right now? For example, like if you could go somewhere on a vacation that would last a week or 2, where would you go?
I'll give you several. I definitely would love to go to like Mexico would be really quick and easy. It's very close, but like Brazil is somewhere I'd always want to come visit. I think Spain sounds cool. I would like to see Spain. I'd like to see Italy, especially after you went to Italy the other day.
Italy's great. Yeah, I think actually C-Bum's there right now.
Oh,
so yeah, he loves it. He went to where's he at right now? I think this morning he was in Lake Como.
Really?
And he would, and he's like, it's funny because same thing. He likes to go places, but then he doesn't like to hang out in the cities.
Yeah.
Like Rome is great, but he's like Lake Como, the Amalfi Coast, which is the smaller towns. And obviously, if you haven't seen Lake Como, it's absolutely beautiful. I haven't been there personally, but I might go this summer just because I have to take another trip. And the area is absolutely amazing. But for those that have never been to Italy, you got to start with Rome and do the Vatican, do the Colosseum, do a bunch of different
He's all
things.
about Italy now.
Well,
aren't you going back again?
Yeah.
Yeah, just for personal.
Yeah.
But no, let me finish. I got other places.
Tell me.
I want to go everywhere.
But let me ask, go ahead. But tell me where you'd want to go on vacation.
Oh, no, these are the places I want.
Oh, you want to go on vacation. You're not saying I'm not going to go
I
there.
just want to go see.
Because the last time you were like, I want to go to Brazil, but let's do a seminar, bro.
I'm always thinking bodybuilding.
I know. You always like, but that's the thing. You got to like stop thinking about bodybuilding for a second.
Like anywhere, like, okay, let me start on this side of the world. Like I said, Mexico, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Those places sound cool. I think that, like I said, Spain, Italy, I heard India is crazy, but that's more bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I would love to check out a lot of the Asian countries too. Like, definitely like Korea, South Korea, that is.
Distinguished.
I think, I think Japan might be pretty cool. And, obviously the Philippines, I love going to the Philippines. My wife.
Where have you gone? Manila?
Cebu area.
Okay.
That's where her family's over there. And then, I think like Thailand or like Bali would be really cool. Probably meet Andre over there, maybe.
Andre's second home is in Bali now.
And then, of course, Dubai. I think Dubai would be.
It's like he does the golden triangle. He goes Dubai, Bali, and he ends up going to Ibiza.
So maybe I'll just do like a trip with him.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call him up, like, hey, Andre, we're gonna go to we're gonna do a tour, a vacation tour.
He loves it there. But Nicholas, one of our athletes, is based out of there too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's out there.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to go there for my honeymoon and to Bali, and then Farnaz ended up getting pregnant right away, and then she ended up getting such a bad morning sickness that she couldn't fly. So we ended up having to cancel our trip.
So notice that I picked all the warm areas around the world. I'm not really interested in going to like
Iceland.
No, thank you. No. Or like what is it? Like Alaska. No.
I think when you do all the cruises, eventually then you all end up going to Alaska. And
Yeah, you
Alaska.
will on those. Yeah.
Yeah, because people are like, oh wow, it's great. You see this waterfall from your cruise, from your balcony, and then you see like maybe some orca or you see some like bald eagles because you're just like, okay, I've seen enough beaches.
Yeah.
But yeah, and one of the things that comes to mind also is the fact that you're like, I think don't you like watching movies? Aren't you like a movie guy? Because you used to be.
Jelson's gonna watch this and laugh, dude. I can't even stay awake for a movie. I like to watch.
Is it Jelson is the one?
Yeah,
that's the movie guy. Okay.
I love to watch movies
Because I don't think you.
but I cannot stay awake to save my life. And if I do, for some reason, she's like shocked. She's like, "You must like this."
And
movie.
movies are getting really long.
I know.
They're almost like most movies that come out are 3 hours.
dude. Hour
nowadays.
and a half max. I'm done. I'm checked out. That's it. I love movies, but I just I don't know.
Gone in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 10 minutes.
That's it. You're gone. Snoring.
Literally, I'm like 10 minutes. I'm out.
That's
Yeah. But actually, you know what? Like the movie dates, we have like a nice movie theater near our house. So even like during the preps and stuff, I'll take Jelson on like a date there sometimes. So
well. Let's circle up, and I want to talk about Pittsburgh because you guys all guest post.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into the bodybuilding portion of this podcast.
here we go.
How did you think it went, and who impressed you the most?
I think it was great. I think what was super cool about it, if I can remove myself as a fan of bodybuilding, like it was epic, to be honest. I mean, I remember like years back when you'd have like Kai Green, Phil Heath, Evan Centopani, Dexter Jackson, Juan Morel, all the guys, they all come out and just
Jay, Ronnie, all of them.
everybody would be there. And it was just so cool to watch. Like, wow, you get to see all these monsters from the Olympia in their off season at the Pittsburgh Pro. And before I ever guest posed these last couple of years at Pittsburgh, I was like, I hope someday I get the honor to do this. And being there with Evagen last year, when Jim Mannion asked me, I was like, oh man, sick. Yeah. Of course I'll jump up there, And
Everybody thinks that it was all planned out.
Yeah,
and it was so funny because he just asked, he goes, hey, you want to get up on stage?
Yeah.
And you're like, sure.
Which makes it even better because that was the big one that kind of shocked everybody.
Yeah.
So how did you feel going into it a second time?
good, man. I mean, look, the first time I didn't even know I was going to be there to guest post.
Yeah.
This time, everybody knew I was going to be there to guest post. So there was a little bit of pressure that come with it. But to be honest, I feel like it's going to be what it's going to be. I'm always giving my best. I'm always, training hard, doing my best. So, and checking in with him to make sure that I'm not going too off the rails. So I knew it was going to be good. I just didn't know how good it would be. And I think it was a great turnout.
Who impressed you most? Because on the internet, everything I saw was you and Samson. Every time there was a photo posted of the 6 guys or whatever, it was you, Samson. That was what everybody was talking about.
I mean, is that kind of a bad question to ask me since I'm the one on stage?
No, but
quite
honestly,
was there
let's say after the fact, or let's say, were you looking at anybody when you were up there?
Not when I was up there. I was just.
But I'm saying like backstage or whatever. Was there anybody sound like oh, they made good improvements or this whatever? I'm just saying like, did anything stand out to you necessarily?
To me, it was pretty much what I expected.
Yeah.
I think they've all made improvements, to be honest. Like, and that's not just me.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I think everyone has. Even Sean.
Yep.
Even Sean looked rounder and fuller than I've seen him.
Yep. And I asked him what his weight was. I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, I remember whatever he said, it was the heaviest he's ever been.
Yes, he said that.
Dang, stacked. So I think it was cool. I think everybody made improvements. Obviously, Nick's made improvements. Samson's made improvements. Rami's made improvements. And all Hunter, Nick, all of them. And so, no, it was just fun to be up there. And like I said in the beginning, going back several years to the guys that came before me, I just felt like this is like today's era, and I get to be a part of it. And it's just so cool and awesome as a fan that I get to be a part of this group of amazing athletes. And I think this Pittsburgh Pro is going to be one of the best, off-season guest posings maybe in history. I don't know.
Well, I think the reason why everyone looks so good is because you have a couple people that are planning on doing a show. So I think Hunter Labrado is getting ready for a show, I believe. You have Samson just coming off the Arnold, which wasn't too long ago. But you also have Nick, who has been in really good shape. And he's focusing on his off season, trying to get all his body parts to grow and just get rounder and fuller. And then you have other athletes that are just really tightened up, where in the past, because there was no social media, nobody cared. So you get some bad pictures. What comes to mind is Sean Roden, right?
Mm-hmm.
God rest his soul. He came one year and he looked really out of shape, really out of shape. And I don't know if it was a combination of him not training or him just coming off his diet, but I just remember, and everybody was just mortified. And I feel like there was times where you'd see some of these guys that were top guys, and they would show up way out of shape because they didn't have to worry so much about their physique, because they didn't have the sponsorships, weren't like, I'm not going to say 24/7, but the social media that you got to look good in your photographs while you're doing your videos and your selfies, and you're doing all of the different things that are required by your sponsors or your own personal brand. All of that stuff is a new requirement. So people have to stay in shape, because if you get sloppy, you can't do photos, you can't do videos, you can't do any of those things. It doesn't matter what division you're in anymore. Where in the past, the division that would get the biggest buy on that, like they're open. These guys got to get big. And so being sloppy was okay. But now no one's really sloppy anymore.
Yeah, everybody came in and was in good shape.
Yeah, very good shape.
Right?
Very good shape. But going back to, how did you feel when you guys were pumping up backstage? Was everybody just kind of like checking each other out, going, okay, like, kind of like, hey, like, oh, that guy's chest is a little flat, or this guy's like arms are kind of like not looking that great?
Okay. I'll give you my honest perspective. We're all friends at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. And we all get along, and we have a good time. We joke around, we have fun with each other. But there is a sense that in the back of people's minds, it's like, there is kind of like, I'm checking you out and see, you know what I mean? Like, just like, I haven't seen him for a while. I wonder what he looks like. So I sense that. But nonetheless, we're there to have fun and put on a show. So,
but that being said, when you guys were all pumping up backstage, was everybody like looking at each other, or was everybody just looking at you and Nick and Samson? Mostly like,
yeah,
I mean, stop it.
Yeah,
stop. Take off the filter for 1 second.
There's definitely a lot of eyeballs coming our way. Yeah.
Okay.
And but there's also a lot of hard pumping up too right before.
But I also think at the same time, there's a lot of understanding that like it really doesn't matter what you look like.
Yeah.
Then there's an understanding that it's what you look like on the day.
Yeah.
Of the Olympia.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like somebody could look a bit softer, or somebody super shredded, and it's like, well, today's not,
Yeah.
You're just extrapolating, oh, this is what they might look like. I think that the main thing that people were surprised by last year was just going to be seeing you, because it was so far out of your normal weight cap.
Right.
But I think for the most part, everybody looks at guest posing. It's like, oh, this is cool to see all of them and everything, but it doesn't really matter what they look like today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, with this though, I'll be honest with you. I expected you guys to be like, hey, let me, Nick, you need some extra oil, and just douse them with just tons of oil and be like, oh yeah, that's gonna make him look like shit. It's gonna make him look like shit when he gets up there.
Hey man, I think you're tan smearing.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Because then you guys went up into the audience. So for those of you that weren't there, they came out up on stage, and then they were out in the audience, and then mixing it up out there, and it was packed house.
Yeah,
super packed. And I was surprised, because it's the most packed I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was
Pittsburgh.
awesome.
And I've been going there for over 20 years. And what I saw was the fact that this place was just electric, because you guys all were out there. And like you said, it's the new generation. It's a new generation of bodybuilders. So being able to see all of you guys, and then you saw the 212 champ, you saw Nick, you got to see Big Rammy, who obviously there was like a big controversy last year with him not showing up, and then nobody knew what happened, and then all of a sudden then you jumped up on stage. All of those different things that went on. But how, did you get a chance to talk to Rammy at all? Yeah,
Rammy is cool. Actually, I had dinner with him that night, actually. Super cool guy, but it wasn't too much to talk about. Just, hey, how you doing? How's your family? Like, how you been? Just small talk like that. But like you were saying, like the crowd was packed. The energy was so high. For me, that's what I'm really there to focus on. I'm there to have fun and be with the guys that that I'm competing with. But ultimately, like, I'm there to, like, we're there to put on a show, and then we're there to, like, really bring the energy to the crowd and feed off that. And I felt it from the time, the first guy walked on stage to the last, and we were all up there going out to the crowd. And then just even afterwards, like people were, screaming and yelling and even whenever like, oh, who's going to take the Olympia this year? And then people were just like, this guy. And so I don't know, man, like that's what I'm there for. That's what excites me. And
it definitely motivates you, right?
It totally motivates me.
Yeah. Cause you're just like, I remember afterwards, you're like, okay, it's time to get to work.
I did. I came off. I was like, all right, what do you think? He's like, yeah, we can, okay, good. But I was like, all right, let's go. Like game plan now. Come on.
Has there been a moment in your career, competitive career, maybe a moment like this at the guest posing or on stage at the Olympia, first call out, whatever it might be? Has there been like one moment specifically where something set in really, really hard of like, dang, I'm here? Like where growing up as a fan of the sport, watching bodybuilders, looking up to bodybuilders from back in the day, and then being one of those people now. Has there been any specific moment where it's kind of just like set in that you're actually there?
Yeah, there's been a few times. The first time obviously was when I first turned pro, and the same year I went to the Olympia. I was like, holy crap. Like these are the guys I'm looking up to that like inspired and motivated me to even step on stage for the first time. Now I'm standing next to them on the biggest stage in the world, and holy crap, I'm in the first call out. What? So, that year, obviously Flex Lewis won the 212. The following year, I placed second to him, but at that point I realized, okay, I'm here. And that was for the 212. And then I would say getting with Hany and working with Hany, that was whenever like I'm like, wow, like he really has belief in me, because I always looked up to Hany too as well. To be honest, I was kind of a fanboy of Hany as well, as him coaching with Phil and Jay, and so being able to work with him was like, wow, like he has belief in me, so it's like kind of like I'm here moment. And then when obviously winning the 212 Mr. Olympia was a super pivotal moment in my life. And then again, like we talked about last year's guest posing was, that was when like, all right, like some really good things are in the works, I think.
So being here now, being at that point where you are one of those people, what would be one piece of advice you would give your amateur competitor self?
Well, the best advice that I like to always give first-time competitors,
No, he's saying
I'm saying specifically you. Talk to yourself. You're talking to yourself as a competitor. Yeah. Not any kind of like, not saying you're going to give me something generic.
I'm not.
But I'm saying give me something like what, if you thought back to yourself right now and you have to like, because I can think of a lot of stuff I would say to myself when I was like 18, 19. And so it's like, what would be something that like, think about exactly where you were when you were kind of getting into this, and like, even if it's something like reassuring of like,
no, that's why I was going to say this is the best advice I could give anyone, because it's the advice I would give myself.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane. This is your bodybuilding journey. You cannot control what anybody else is doing. If you compare yourself to anyone else, only do it to see like, wow, like they've done something incredible and they've showed you what's possible. And that should give you some sort of reassurance and confidence that you can do it too. And if something hasn't been done and you want to do it, like Arnold says, if it's never been done, great, I'll be the first to do it. So if you can just look at your physique and say, this is what I've been given by God, and I want to make the most of it. And each show is like a milestone, and it's not the end all be all make or break of who I'm going to be as a bodybuilder. You can just look at each show as a milestone, as how you're progressing in your physique, then you can just keep those blinders on. And I think you can, and also another point too, is drawing motivation from a positive place rather than a negative place. If you can do those two things, keep the blinders on, draw motivation from a positive place, then I really feel like the sky's the limit in what you can do as a bodybuilder, or really anything in life.
Yeah, that's big. That's big, because a lot of, it doesn't matter if you're a bodybuilder or you're an entrepreneur, you won't, any kind of business owner, you're always looking at something to kind of get you going, and you use it as motivation. It's the competitive side in nature in you. And I feel that stuff is very temporary.
Absolutely.
It's very temporary. And I think that you have been able to change a lot of your persona, the way you look at things, your outlook on life because of that. And I think that obviously we've had our deep conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that everybody always asks me is like, what do you think has made Derek change so much? And what do you think it is?
Well, like I said, in Pittsburgh or everywhere I go when I get the chance, I always, I give it to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He is number one in my life. So honoring God and putting him first.
But you were always had a relationship.
I did, but it wasn't the same. It really wasn't.
So what changed?
Truly giving my life to God. And it's not always easy. There are times where I feel closer to God, and there's times where I feel a little bit more distant. He's always there. He's always got us. But the thing is, it's like we can either choose to draw closer to him, or we can try to do it ourselves and take control of our own lives. And it's never going to work out better when you do that. So when you give it to God and you just say, God, whatever you have for my life, now he says, listen, you can't just rely on me. There's work that you have to do. You have to be wise enough to understand that you have to go to the gym if you want to be Mr. Olympia. You can't just expect me to hand you the Mr. Olympia title if that's what I've called you to do. So you need to be wise enough that there's work involved, and but allowing him to guide your life and say, God, like wherever you're guiding me, I trust you that it's better than what I have in my plans. And we think we have the best plans. If I can check this box and do this and get here, then everything's going to be perfect. And, I think I told you yesterday, it's like somebody asked me, did you ever think that your bodybuilding career would be what it is today? And I said, to be honest, if I could have wrote it myself, it wouldn't have been half as good as what it is now. I still think that there's a lot more to come. I really do. I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg. But if I could write my story up to this point, it wouldn't have even been this good. And I contribute that all, like I said, to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And like you said, I've always had belief. I grew up in church. My mother raised me in church, and thank God she did, because I always had some sort of relationship with God. And I just chose to try to take control of myself and lead my own life. And when I was doing that, it was kind of rebellion, right? And not purposeful, not like, God, I don't need you. It's just like, you just think you need to take control and do it yourself. And then you realize one day, you just wake up and you're like, man, this isn't working out. This is just, I don't know why I'm doing everything. I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm working really hard, but it's not panning out. I feel like I'm going backwards, if anything. And there was a point in my life where I was in such a dark place, man, so depressed that it was to the point where I literally didn't even want to be here anymore.
Was that when you were not kind of sliding backwards?
Yeah.
And when I say that in terms of placings, right? Because
it wasn't just the placings. It was just I thought it was the placings at the time, but it really was just like how I viewed myself. Kind of like I just kind of started realizing that, like, oh man, like I'm not the person that I truly want to be. I want to be one person. I say I'm one person, but I'm acting in a different way, and I don't like it. And I want to truly, live my life better, and here's the thing. I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm never going to be perfect. And that's why I said in the beginning, sometimes I feel closer to God. Sometimes I feel a little bit more distant. Sometimes I try to take control of myself still. And it just, I try to realize it, and I try to quickly run back to him as fast as I possibly can. But it's not easy, because I am a human being. I live in this world. I try not to live into it. But I do live in this world, and I am a human being. So I know that I am flawed, and that I am going to make mistakes, whether I want to or not. And I just have to try to catch myself as fast as possible.
Well, I feel like you're much more grateful.
I'm way more grateful. Yeah. Believe me.
And
that has been huge.
You felt that in the past things were owed to you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's honestly most people. People think that things are owed to them, or they want to blame others for wherever they're not in their lives. And when you get into that realm of finger pointing and you don't want to take responsibility, what ends up happening is you just become very bitter.
Yep. Well, that's where I was. That's exactly where I was, because I was like, I'm not a bad person. I feel like my heart is in the right place. I feel like I'm doing good. But truly, when I look back, that is kind of how I felt. Like, if I do this, then I deserve that. And it just isn't the case. That's why, like, I did another podcast one time. I think it was on Fuad's channel or something like that. And we were talking about something, and I said, these are all blessings. I don't feel like I earn anything. Literally, like, I just don't feel like I earn anything. And I feel like I do the work, and God will bless me with what he wants to give me. And whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's what I believe.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize a spirituality and organized religion, everybody has their different journey in this, right? So people will talk about God, but they may not be Christian, or they may not be Muslim if they talk about, God, but maybe they came from different things. And I feel that religion in general tends to, even though it's man-made, and there's a lot of tradition, and I think we were talking a little bit about this last night at dinner. What it does is a lot of the time it just makes you into a better person because there's rules to live by. And some people call it karma. Some people call it like divine intervention of putting things out into the universe and what comes back at you. And again, different forms of some type of karma, let's call it. And I feel like I inherently believe in that. I really do. I feel like if you put positive energy out, you'll get positive energy in. And if you're constantly negative, you're going to attract negative things that are going to happen to you. Because I've known so many bodybuilders in the last 30 years I've been coaching. And one of the things that I've noticed is that if your mindset is negative, negative things are going to occur. And when I say that, I mean, you're going to turn around and have injuries. You're going to have different types of relationship issues with your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend. You might have with your sponsor. That negative energy, you need to figure out ways of cleaning it up. I mean, you did it, and you continue to do that through Christianity and what your core beliefs. But I feel like even those that aren't let's say Christian, but they're just trying to figure out how to create to become a little bit more elevated in terms of their spirituality. You hear C-Bomb, he talks about being blessed. Yeah. He's not a religious guy in any means, but he talks about being, feel like he's very blessed for all the things that have, occurred. And even Hany in Farsi, he always, says different things that reflect back to a greater purpose of God. Yeah. And I feel like people that are really in tuned with that tend to have more positivity, and it attracts more positivity. But when you're constantly negative, I just feel like that frequency, you have to change. And I think it also creates a sense of calmness and order when you do know that those things are being put out there in a positive light.
Right. And you said something about religion. I don't really talk about religion ever. Yes, I am a Christian, but I preach. I don't even want to say I preach. I don't like the word preach either. I just talk about my faith and relationship with Jesus Christ. And if I didn't have that, then I would have no sort of foundation for my life. I think we can all agree that there are certain things you should and shouldn't do. Yeah. Live by the golden rule, like treat others how you'd want to be treated, and shouldn't steal, kill, or whatever. Obviously that's pretty obvious to anyone, right? But like, other than that, there's really no foundation, or there wouldn't be a foundation to my life if I didn't have Jesus, right? And so I think like when you say religion can make you a better person, sure, but like that's where the foundation of my life comes from is that relationship with God and my faith in Christ.
What has the response been like as a bodybuilder in the fitness industry, sharing your faith and talking about it? What is there a percentage of good, bad? What is the response like? Because I know there's not a ton of people who are super forward facing with it.
I couldn't tell you a percentage to say. Yeah. And when I started being more outspoken about my faith, there was really no talk at all. And so I just did because it was like
Did you expect it to be more negative or positive, or
I just thought people would just be like, why are you talking about that? Like, why, like, there, you know, what, like, or just kind of like hush hush, just no response really. I didn't think it was going to be positive or negative. I thought maybe there'd be some people was like, okay, cool. Yeah, me too. But truthfully, like, there's been an overwhelming amount of people that like come up to me at a booth, you know, like, for example, I think the Arnold Classic at the Evogen booth, I would say 80% of the people or more was like, thank you for sharing your faith. And like, we talked at the Pittsburgh Pro, whenever I said, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, like the whole crowd just like,
a lot of people. I remember that. Yeah.
And,
right.
and did I expect that?
Big
No.
Positive applause.
Like, do I expect that? No. Is that what I'm looking for when I say that? Absolutely not. Like, I'm just like, it's great that I get that kind of response, and it's not even for me. I don't think of it for myself. I'm just glad those people's lives were saved is all I care about. I do it because I feel like he's given me this platform, and I just want to honor him through it.
Do you ever get like, razzed about the fact that they're like, oh, you take PEDs, and how do you handle that? People
say that, and it definitely is a touchy subject for sure.
By the way, if you didn't know, he's not natural. I didn't say that. Natty Light. you and Michael Hearn.
But there's nothing biblically. Of course, it's a fine line, and that stuff didn't even exist in a way. But I wouldn't say that there's a stark biblical anti.
I'll tell you this: if I wasn't the bodybuilder that I am, would I be able to reach this many people and bring that many people to Christ? I don't think that I could. I think if I didn't compete in the Olympia, and I didn't have the platform that I have, which I feel like I've been called to do, then I don't feel like I would be able to witness to so many people.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say, but I think that even...
And the thing is here too, is that we are all put on earth for a reason. We all have a purpose, whether you believe it or not. I think we all deep down believe it. Sometimes we turn away from it, or we try to search too hard for our purpose when we just need to accept it. I just felt it in my heart that I'm going to be a bodybuilder. Like, I just feel like this is what I need to do. I even told my girlfriend, now my wife, at one point, I said, I know this isn't what you signed up for. You didn't meet me as a bodybuilder, but I just feel like this is who I am and what I need to do. And she said, I'm behind you 100%. That was a tough thing because like, I didn't know how she was going to respond to that. But we all are put on earth for a reason. We all have purpose and a calling, and we have a very short window of that when it comes to the grand scheme of eternity. We talk about eternity after we are here, right? When we're gone from here. But what about before we were here? What about while we're here? What about after we're gone? Eternity is forever. Before, during, and after we're here on earth, we have a short window of a few years. When I say a few years, maybe 100. Right. Very unlikely that it's going to be 100. And so what are we here for? What impact are we going to make? And are we going to honor him through it?
So let me rewind that a little bit. Let's walk that back. So Austin, are you basically saying that there's nothing biblical about?
I wouldn't say that there's nothing inherently evil about. Of course, it's your body's a temple. You're meant to take care of, but that to me is like, okay, if you are, which that's a slippery slope. Don't come after me. I'm not saying I'm creating my own discernment of it, but I'm just saying that like, if you are going about it in a healthier way, monitoring certain markers, keeping an eye on things, getting regular blood tests, kind of, yes, of course, it's not the healthiest thing, but there's so many unhealthy things that we do, just artificial sweeteners or going and, driving a fast car. There's so many different things that I think that like you saying that and going down that tangent of saying that think about how many people I'm able to reach. That's almost like saying that like I had to commit a crime to go evangelize in jail, meaning you're kind of insinuating that the PEDs themselves are not good. And it's not necessarily saying they're a healthy thing for you, but I wouldn't say that anything I've seen biblically is saying they're inherently evil or wrong. It's, so that's kind of why I'm just distinguishing that, is I'm saying that like, there's nothing out there that from what I've seen says that there is a reason that they're bad, other than simply saying that your body's a temple, something to take care of, something to keep healthy and strong, and all of those things. But I think that it was giving almost like a negative insinuation that you were like doing this unhealthy, this negative thing, but now are able to reach a ton of people. I'm saying that like I don't necessarily see it as that kind of way of like you had to do this thing that is biblically bad, but now you're able to reach a bunch of people. Because it's like,
is that something that I believe is a good thing? No.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody who's going to say it's a good thing.
I maybe this is a bad argument here, but it's just kind of the first thing that comes to mind, right? Is like where I come from is a small town of Indiana, and we're like a coal mining town, right? Is nobody supposed to be coal miners because they shouldn't be breathing in that air? You know, and how many other jobs are, you know, like
an NFL player, somebody who's going and bashing their head into something repeatedly, like that's kind of why. I think that is a good analogy, because I'm not necessarily like the insinuation that you had initially though was like, well,
that's not the way I looked at it.
Yeah, okay. I'm just clarifying because it sounded like you're saying, well, like look at how many people I am able to reach. And like, it's not necessarily. Yeah,
definitely, it's not something that I think is a good thing necessarily. It's just, but like I said, like that's.
But I think there's people depending on kind of how they translate what your faith is.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, well, you're not supposed to drink, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. But obviously, in the Christian religion, from what I know, again, you know, it doesn't seem to be an issue like it would be in Islam, right? So when you're looking at different faiths and you're looking at the Muslim faith, you know, it's forbidden to drink alcohol. Right. And it's forbidden
to eat certain things, right?
Right. Pork, things that, you know, even their meat's supposed to be halal. Again,
I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of pork anyway.
Yeah. But in general, those are some religious rules. Now, how much of that would be because of the fact that someone hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, right, sat up and said, look, we're going to make this a religion because, especially at the time, pork is bathing in its own filth, and people are getting sick eating this. So we're going to make this into like a, hey, don't do this because of religion, or make it into and then all of a sudden it says like, tell the village, stop eating this because people are getting sick. And then they make it into like part of the religion. I don't know. Those are questions that scholars know way better than I do on both sides of
maybe not even scholars. Maybe it's just a God thing.
Well, like actually one of the best, so just really quick, this is actually the best argument I've ever heard against, now it's coming from Catholicism. I was raised Catholic, my family. One of my brothers went to school for like, it's 9 years to become a priest. He ended at 7, but he has a theology degree, philosophy degree, has obviously studied it quite in depth. And I asked him one time, and I was like, do you think that steroids would be any way anti-biblical or anything like that? And after talking it through, Catholicism doesn't believe in contraception. So actually that was the only, after talking through a bunch of the different layers of things, the only thing he could think of is believing this, go down a bunch of rabbit holes and everything, though, that
you'd be sterile.
Essentially, that like sex biblically is supposed to keep that contained, meaning it's supposed to be that it has a purpose, and one of those purpose is creating children. So if you're shutting off one of those things, then it's you're playing God by creating it into something else that you want it to be, not what it was initially designed for. So the only thing that we could kind of talk about is like, if you're taking it with the sole intention of, I'm going to sterilize myself essentially, so that way I can go do a bunch of these things and not need to worry about it, then that is you kind of taking control over your body, becoming God, saying, I now am creating sex into what I want it to be. So like, I had a pretty in-depth conversation with, something that's not the end all be all, but like I was kind of digging in initially. I was like, could hormones be taken in any kind of way as something that's not biblical? But
I think it's like, it kind of just comes back to like, are you honoring God or are you honoring yourself?
Yeah, your soul, your actual intentions. Only God knows your intentions and what you're actually going into something with.
And someone can sit here and say, praise God, praise God, praise God, and they don't truly mean it in their heart. And then someone can truly mean it, or truly live their life for God and not just be super outspoken about it. But for me, like I said, I feel like I've been given this platform and I want to be able to honor him and I want to be outspoken. Even if it cost me something in the future, I'm okay. I'm not turning away from my Lord and Savior. I'm sorry.
I think that you have a cool opportunity with this because I don't necessarily think there would be a lot of people who are very religious bodybuilding is going to seem a bit immodest, or it's not going to be something that they gravitate towards a ton. So you kind of almost get a group of people to talk to who may be hearing it for the first time, or, you know, had never really thought about it or thought that you could be in it and have that.
One of my really good friends, he's obviously a Christian too. He said it so perfectly one time, but many years ago, I don't know what we were talking about. Maybe it was the bodybuilding thing. I don't know. But he said, hey man, everybody is supposed to be witnessed to, right? Like we're supposed to be fishers of men. We're supposed to go, not live into the world, but go out in the world and go preach, go bring people to God, right? And if there is a drunk at the bar and that's the only place that you can meet that person, are you not supposed to ever go to that bar? Mm-hmm. Not saying you necessarily need to contribute and drink, but if you're to say you should never go to that bar, you should never go to
biblical.
I'm just
a lot of wine at those weddings and things. I'm just saying.
I just say, like, I think it comes back to our intentions, right?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Well, and also if you run PCT, you should be okay. All right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, honestly,
as long as I'm not staying
but like
sterile.
that's why it's such a slippery slope, because really it's like nobody knows the true intentions of somebody who's like extremes, but like a serial killer on death row and they have an actual transformation the night before, whatever. People will be like, no, there's no way. But like we have no clue. We can't pretend.
Let me break something to you. There was one perfect human being ever that walked this planet, and it was Jesus Christ. I don't care what we think or what we believe. None of us are perfect.
On that note, no, man, it's good to hear, because I know that you've changed a lot. And every time, even in Pittsburgh, so many people came up to me and said, man, he's changed so much.
Fuad said it on the podcast, from his first podcast with you to the
That's
second
right.
one you had.
Fuad,
you mentioned that.
He did mention that.
Uh-huh. I should probably watch that first one. I don't even remember.
You told me not to watch it.
I haven't watched it. I don't know. I just remember that was one of the worst. I remember that was one of the worst.
But what was so
times.
bad? I mean, honestly,
I don't know.
Now I want to see it even more now.
I don't
because
know.
The Fuad podcast, I got to see this, because I mean, you were just talking out of your ass. What were you saying?
I don't remember. It was such a blur to me that I remember before going on to the podcast, I remember like, I don't want to do this.
Were you drunk?
No. I remember
that was a joke, but no. You never know.
I remember going into the podcast and I was thinking, I don't want to do this. I'm not in the right headspace.
Got it.
And it was all such a blur. And then we ended it. And I remember like, that didn't go well. And I don't even know what I said. I just remember, that like the response wasn't great. And I was just like, man, I knew I shouldn't have done it, because I just was not in a good spot. That was like what I'm talking about. Like that was around the time that I just was not good. Like I didn't really I was so depressed, man. I was really in a bad place in my life. And I just remember that going into it. I remember it after the interview or the podcast. And then, yeah, the whole comment section, I guess, was not good. I don't know. I didn't even rewatch it at all. But
what was the comment saying?
I don't even remember. I just remember it was so bad. It was like,
but if you truly believe that there is a specific purpose and things for you being here and everything like that, that is part of it. People have to see the change in you.
Yeah.
From beginning to end.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if they just see a great person all the time, like, oh, you could have just been born a great person.
Yeah.
Just we're always that.
Born a great person.
Yeah. Like, you could have just been born that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, just born a great person.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
That's it. But yeah, that's great, because what I'm seeing is just that personal growth. And I think that it's helped your anxiety. And this was, a topic that we were going to talk about with anxiety.
It's not even helped my anxiety alone. It's helped my own personal life. Like you said, be more grateful. It's helped my marriage at home. It's helped my friendships, my family, business. It's just everything in my life has been so great. I mean, there's not like there's always ways. Nothing's ever perfect, right? But like everything has just been so much better since then, man. So
that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing all that. I know it's not easy, especially when you start going deep into faith and a lot of the things, but hopefully people will take a lot from this, because it's finding different layers to a person like yourself who've had such a huge change in the last several years.
Well, very few people have asked me the stuff we just talked about, and definitely not publicly. Like I was not expecting us to talk about this at all.
We weren't going to. I think this was just kind of went into that direction.
Yeah,
It was-
and so like that's just what I believe, man. That's just me.
No, thank you for being so candid.
Yeah.
You know, again, right now, off season, we got one more day with you here.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to train again tomorrow, and then you're back to Tampa, and then you're going to go on your
Actually, we're here
cruise.
till Saturday.
That's right, Saturday, and then Tampa. Then you're going to be going on your cruise, and then from there, it's on. So you're going to make sure to send in check-in pictures during the cruise.
We'll
I want a full day of eating on the stories. I want a full
that'd
day
be
of
great.
eating.
You didn't bring Trevor with you, did you?
No. I'm saying legitimately.
Look,
I was like, dude, that's bad.
yeah, no,
Trevor, we love you, bro, but not this
don't
time.
do Instagram stories. A full day of eating, like everything you get from a buffet. Photo of that.
Okay, and then we'll do like the whole trip as like
You better take an
expense.
extra Evo log.
We'll do like an expense, like a write off, since it's for social media.
Dude, legit. So many people would want to see what a full day of eating, completely open on a buffet setting. What does Derek actually eat?
And I only show.
Yeah, if you're an accountant out there, let Derek know in the comments below
much
if
can
he
he
can
write off?
if he can justify being able to post those on social media.
Hey, my accountant already told me he's good. He's like, go for it. You're good.
Any other accountants out there?
The IRS has entered the chat.
Yeah, go into the.
I'm kidding.
Go into the comment section of the YouTube page. And let us know if Derek can write off all of those meals. Actually, it's part of the cruise, right? Because it comes with it.
See, the
And
whole cruise is
there you
right.
go. If it's a cruise that's designed for content,
Cruise
for content.
hold on.
Hashtag cruise for content.
Not just content, but like this is therapy.
That's,
This is
Oh my god.
That's it. That's it. Oh, buddy. Again, thank you so much. We're going to do, if you guys haven't seen any of the workouts that we posted, they will be posted actually in the next day or so during the weekend. So check out the Evogen Nutrition channel. The workouts are going to be posted there. And then, as always, look at his YouTube as well. As congratulations, you hit over 100,000 on your YouTube.
Yeah, over 100,000
Yeah,
subscribers.
that's great.
That's a huge milestone for us.
Yes.
Thank you for everybody that subscribed.
Yes. And then also IG. I know your IG's growing as well.
Yeah.
And it's great. I really, enjoy watching you guys, especially when you and Jelson do your little TikTok stuff.
Yeah.
Man, those are the best. But, and we'll just continue to keep sharing with all of the people out there that are watching.
Absolutely. It's fun. It's great. Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you for being here. Hany Rambod, Austin, and we got Derek Lunsford, runner-up at the Mr. Olympia 2022 and 2021 Olympia 212 winner. And that's the truth.